Okay, so after you've done your kind of liquid contouring, you're going to want to put on your concealer, and then you're going to set everything with a powder. With the concealer, you can use a cream concealer, you can use a liquid concealer. You really have kind of any type of option. Whatever you're using is just fine. Again, I like a lot of coverage, so I'm going to use the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. And you've got a couple of options. You can use a standard concealer brush. I like this better for creams than I do for liquids, because with liquids they come out a little more streaky. You've also got the option of a more fluffy concealer brush that you can kind of buff it in with. I find that this also works better with liquids instead of cream. And then you also have your option of your blender brush. Because this has kind of the tip at the front or at the top, it can really get into those areas under the eye. So you've got a couple of options. So I'll do one of kind of each so you guys can see. So I'm just putting a little bit of concealer. It's actually a lot of concealer. I'm gonna kind of just take it right under the eye. Now the great thing about using the blender when you're doing under the eye is because it's a sponge, it really will kind of press it into your skin, whether you have fine lines or any type of wrinkles or anything like that, which it's not that you're old. Anytime your eyes get a little bit dry, you'll have little lines under there. So for us in DC, especially when it's so cold in the summer or in the winter, I find myself getting a lot of lines. So this will really make sure that it's kind of in there and you don't see too much of the creasing. Okay. So now that I have that on there, what I want to do while it is already kind of pressed in there, it's smooth, there's no fine lines or anything of that sort, I want to quickly take a setting powder. Now you can brush them on, but for me I've actually found that this technique, which a makeup artist showed me a couple years ago, is the best one. It looks a little bit crazy, but you want to take a loose powder that is lighter than your foundation. It doesn't really matter how lighter, it could be actually pure white if you wanted. I'm using the Makeup Forever loose powder in a 19, which is not my color at all. As you can see, it's very much lighter than my skin tone, but that's actually what you want, because once you brush it off, which you will shortly, it kind of gives a highlight under here. But the powder, you're just going to want to kind of tap it on with the sponge. I almost never use the applicators that come with any of the makeup, but for this you're going to want something that you can kind of just pat it on. You don't have to worry about blending. You're going to have lots of the powder just kind of sitting there almost like a mask. And you're going to leave that until after you do your eyeshadow. And it comes in handy, not only does it help set your concealer, but if you're doing your eyeshadow and you're worried about any of the flakes from the eyeshadow kind of falling underneath your eye onto your cheekbones, it will catch it because you can just wipe it away. You will want to make sure you're wearing a robe or a towel or something that isn't your clothes for the evening, because when you're doing this, it's easy for the powder to fall right onto your shirt. And so you don't want to stain anything, especially if you're wearing a beautiful gown or something of that nature. So next thing I want to do is I've got my eyes and my concealer set. I'm going to take the Max 109 brush, which is a powder blending brush. It's like a contouring brush actually. And I've got two powder colors that I like to use. I could use these separately on my own, on its own, just to do a powder contour. But I'm using the NC25, which is lighter than my skin tone, as a highlight powder, and the NC50, which is darker than my skin tone, as a contouring powder. So I'm going to start with the lighter color, NC25, and I'm just going to kind of buff it over the areas that I put the lighter shade of the foundation earlier. Just get that on the front, down here on the side, and kind of up a little bit. And then with the darker contouring color, I'm going to do the same thing. Just take a little bit on the brush and go over the areas that I contoured with the darker shade. This is just going to kind of set it, make sure that it stays kind of that contouring color, rather than contouring with a foundation and going over it with a powder that kind of just neutralizes everything you did. So take that up. And same thing, you're just going to want to make sure you're buffing it in. And from here and down there. And you can also do it back down your jawline and your neck if you use that color there. So next thing I'm going to do is start working on my eyeshadow. The eyeshadows, you have a lot of flexibility. I tend to do almost all of my shadows in the browns and golds, a lot of copper, something pretty neutral unless I'm looking for a very dramatic eye, at which point I'll use grays and purples and like dark black or blacks to do any type of smoky. But for most day-to-day or anytime on camera, I like to just pretty much do dark browns and gold. So today I'm gonna just do a pretty simple, only a couple of steps. I'm using a kind of lid color that I like. It's a dark, sparkly brown of sorts with a little bit of purple. If you have brown eyes, the purple can really help bring out your eyes. And I'm just putting this over the lid. You don't want to go too much into the crease. If you do, it's okay. You'll blend it out shortly. Just want to pat that on. Now from this point, I'm just going to take a fluffy brush. This is the MAC, 224, which I have a ton of because they're just a great brush. And I'm just using a darker brown. This is the color that I used on my lid, and I'm just using a darker brown. I think this might be brown down to kind of just go out into the crease. But this type of eyeshadow, this really easy kind of three-step look is simple. You just pick a color, actually I guess it's four-step, but pick a color that you like for your lid, and then find a corresponding color slightly darker for your crease, kind of just in the same color family. And you're going to blend those two together. The point is anything that's in your crease, again, just like the contouring we did on our face, it's just going to add some dimension. Make your eyes look a little bit bigger and pop a little bit more. And again, also just like with the contouring, it's always easy to add more and blend it than it is to take any away. So go easy. Sometimes it takes a while to kind of get the hang of blending, but blending is going to be kind of your best friend with whatever eyeshadow look you go for. So have a little bit of patience, kind of just go over and back. And once you have that, you can see that it's all kind of a little bit dark. What you're going to want to do is take that first brush, it's a flat kind of, or actually to take a smaller one, just to kind of deposit a little bit of color. And you're going to want to take a color that's lighter than the one you put on your lid. I'm using just kind of a very sparkly, almost champagne gold. And I'm going to put this right on the center. So kind of right above where your eyeball or your pupil would be. And that's just going to help make the center of this pop a little bit and lighten up the entire look. If you want, you can layer on some colors, give it a little more dimension. And then for the final step, you're just going to take another clean eyeshadow brush. Let's find one that doesn't have a dark color on it. And you're going to take a color that most closely matches your skin tone and kind of just use it under your eye to highlight and also to clean up any areas where the dark crease color went. So I'm just going to use Brulee. If you don't have a light color like this, you can use a concealer or even your powder. You just want kind of this part to be highlighted a little bit. help kind of show off your arches and also just clean up any areas that maybe that color, the crease color maybe went up a little bit higher than you meant for it to go. And that's it. It's super simple, really easy. It's a good kind of day-to-day look. And the shimmer, you can do the same thing. I've used some glitter today, but you can use it with matte colors just as easily, so it's not almost too overpowering. So now that I have my eyeshadow done, I'm gonna just take that same, oops, this is my cream one. I'm gonna take my powder contouring brush, the MAC 224 that I used earlier, and just kind of get it clean, and I'm just gonna go over that area that I put that loose powder. And you're not really wiping it off, you're almost kind of just dabbing it, but you wanna get rid of the loose powder you had on there. And you can bring it up to your temple, almost blending it out a little bit. And so now you're also wiping away if there was any of the excess kind of crease color or any of the eyeshadow glitter that may have gotten underneath your eyes while you're putting it on. You've just kind of wiped it off. And voila. Now if you want to make it, maybe you're going out with some girlfriends or you're going to an evening event, an evening appearance as a title holder, and you want to make it a little more dramatic, you can take that darker color that you used in your crease and just kind of bring it down under your eye. Oh gosh, where did I put? Here it is. So take kind of just a fine, almost a stiff dome brush, and you can take that color that you used in your crease and just almost bring it almost like you're lining right where your eyelashes are, and bring it down underneath your eye. And that's just going to give you a little more drama and help it pop a little bit more. Super easy. If you want to even make it more dramatic, you can take a black kohl liner and line inside of your lash line, and that will also make it really, really pop. But for today, we're just going to use the powder. And once you've done that, you want to apply your eyeliner and your mascara. For eyeliner, use whatever eyeliner you're most comfortable with. A liquid or a gel liner will pop the most, but also feel free to use a pencil liner or a powder liner if you're more comfortable with that. I've got to put mine on and then go back because I cannot do that without leaning forward. Okay, so now I have my liquid eyeliner on. Nothing kind of too special. I didn't cat eye it or anything, just a nice thin line. And I used it in a dark black to kind of make the browns just really, really pop. Next thing I want to do is apply my mascara. You can use the mascara of your choice. I have tried pretty much every mascara under the sun, and I tend to always go back to the drugstore brands. I find that they're for $8 or $10. They do just as well as like the Dior Show or the $30 mascaras. So I'm just going to use today the Power Volume by Dior. And depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for something that's lengthening, you want to find a formula that does that. I just like a lot of volume. So I'm going to take my wand And a trick that I love to use, I'm going to use my old business cards here, but to make sure that I don't get any mascara, because I have longer lashes, I don't want them to kind of, the tips of the lashes to touch my eyelids, because otherwise it will leave kind of a black mascara line. So I'm going to just use this business card, hold it up here to my eyelid, and brush on my mascara. So you can see that any extra that would normally be on my eyelid is now just coming off on the business card. It's almost like a barrier to protect your eyeshadow that you just put on. And you can do the same thing with the bottom lashes. And by putting on that powder that we put on earlier, the really light colored loose powder, that also kind of protects if you have long lashes that are constantly touching right underneath your eye. I used to have a problem with all of my mascara smudging underneath my eye, and it was because I had so many oils and my skin was so moisturized under there that when my oily skin would touch the bottom of my lashes, it would have the mascara come off and smudge. So when you're putting that powder, you're also really sealing in your concealer and the moisture, so it's not going to smudge your bottom mascara line. So you don't have to use any type of waterproof mascara or anything like that if you don't want to. Kind of go over them. Same thing here at the bottom. And you're good to go. So from here you've got a lot of flexibility with your lips. You can use just a simple gloss. You can put on a bright lip, whatever you choose. And same thing with blush. Because I have the color from the contour that already kind of bronzes my cheeks, I don't want to add too much color. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of a pop of color right on the balls of my cheeks. I'm going to use, this is a matte color called Gingerly. It's a sheer tone blush, which means it's pretty much not going to show up a ton. And just going to smile, and right there on the balls of my cheeks, barely put it on there. And same thing on the other side. Kind of balance it out. Okay, so for the last steps, I just want to finish off my lips. Now remember, in the first area where I was putting on my foundation, I also kind of blanked out as much as I could my actual lips. You can do it far more dramatic if you want a heavy concealer. If you're using a bright red color, you're going to want to completely wipe out your lips. But for this, I didn't need it to go completely blank. I'm just going to take a neutral color from me, which is Max Spice, and line my lips. After you've lined your lips, if you're going to an event or something where you really want your lipstick to stay, I like to just fill in all of my lips with whatever lip liner color I'm using. Alright, so now that you've lined your lips, you've filled them in, you've kind of got that second layer of color protection there, so in case you're wearing a lipstick on top of it or a lip gloss that maybe fades out through the night or comes off while you're eating or drinking, you've got this kind of insurance color underneath. And so I'm just going to take a lipstick. I'm going to use Bobbi Brown's Bare, and it's, again, just like it sounds, a pretty neutral color. And using a lip brush, and I like to do this, you can get a portable one that can go in your purse or your clutch, but I find that it gives you a much more lighter and even application than just using the bullet. So, and it gives you a lot more control. Sometimes the color can come off much, much brighter than you want, but if you're using a lip brush, you can dab it on lightly. I'm just putting that over the lipstick to give it a little, or the lip pencil to give it a little bit of shine. And a little creaminess, since again the lip pencil is quite dry. And you're good to go. A lot of, last minute things depending on what you're doing. If you're looking for something with a lot more kind of high volume shine, you can add an actual highlighter or illuminator right up here to your cheekbones if you wanted. Also, if you are looking for something maybe a little more dramatic with your eyebrows, you can use a brow pencil or a brow powder to just kind of help define any brows, maybe kind of take care of any stray eyebrow hairs that you have. Maybe you're in between waxing, it also will help. If you haven't plucked or groomed your eyebrows in a little bit, you can fill them in where you want. And that's it. For your purse, you just need to keep an extra gloss or lipstick for using it, maybe some blotting powder, but other than that, your look is complete and it will last pretty much all night long. Alright guys, so that was pretty much my go-to look when I'm doing anything on camera or in-person appearances. Now I want to hear from you. Why don't you go ahead and leave me a comment in the box below. Let me know what your favorite look is for an event or a night out, and maybe any favorite products you have that you constantly turn to for a perfect look. Okay guys, that's it for this training video. We really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, that's awesome because we have so much more great pageant instructional content just waiting for you. In fact, we put together an awesome training course called The Secrets to Mastering Your Onstage Questions. Now the best thing about this course is it's not only going to show you how to master your onstage question, but it's also going to show you how to really step up your game during the interview portion of your competition. And we all know how important interview is, right? Now here's the good news, is getting this training course is super simple and completely free. But you do have to be part of our exclusive email subscriber list, so you have to make sure to sign up. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, all you have to do is click the hyperlink below this video and it's going to take you back to our website where you can enter in your email address and get immediate access to the course. If you're watching this video on another site, make sure to go back to pageantprofessors.com and you'll be able to opt in right from the homepage. Now, as always, we value your privacy, so you don't have to worry about us selling your email address or spamming you. All we're going to do is make sure that we're giving you the latest updates on the greatest pageant instruction that we have. So go ahead, sign up, and I'll see you on the other side.